Meet the Experts is an interview series where you will hear the experts from the tech world share their stories, ideas, and how they envision the future. They will share tips on how students can enter, survive and thrive in the industry and eventually reach the top. In today's episode of Meet the Experts.
Hello everyone, welcome to the fourth episode of Meet the Experts, where we have conversations with our experts about technology, education, entrepreneurship. We have got a great guest with us today, so I would say let's just get into it. Today we have with us Mary Olson. She is the co-founder and brand architect of a company called Brand Intelligence. Brand Intelligence is the design and business advisory firm located in the greater New York area. Mary also co-founded Fintech Connector in Q2 2017, the first online membership community that connects fintech entrepreneurs and startups with professionals and investors. She was also awarded 2019 Top 100 Fintech for SDG influencers issued by the Lattice 80 and Fintech for Good. Welcome to the series, Mary.
Thank you very much, Shivani. I'm really honored to be with you today, and let's get into it.
Thank you, Mary. I've been looking forward to this. So, Mary, can you tell our audience more about what brand intelligence is? Like, what is the purpose? How did you come up with the idea of this?
Sure, of course. So first and foremost, we're a strategic advisory, right? So we've helped scores of visionary entrepreneurs, highly motivated business development teams, large corporations, and remarkable individuals establish new business value. That's first and foremost, who we are. And we're very, very fortunate to participate and to support visionaries primarily, people who are building new innovations that will change the world. And so we love highly motivated development teams. We have brilliant technology people, creative directors, writers, business strategists involved. And we love establishing brand identities and bringing all these innovative models to market. So we have a special affinity for new technology and people entering the space.
Okay, that's interesting. So, Mary, I know you sort of wear many hats, but as the co-founder of Brand Intelligence, what is the one thing that you feel has been the biggest contributor to the success of Brand Intelligence so far?
I think there are probably two intersecting capabilities. One is our ability to learn businesses, our client businesses, inside and out. So if you understand everything about a client's business or their organization, then you can help build their identity, right? Mm-hmm. The other thing is that we have very, very deep expertise. And I think those are two really great contributing factors. I can add more, of course, to expand on your request. But I do think that finding the right balance, the right client who has the same kind of mindset and who allows us to do our very, very best work that's probably a third critical factor. If you're not allowed to do your best work, somebody brings you in as an expert, creative expert, a strategic expert, but then they tell you what to do. Here's what we want, instead of listening to all the expertise and then blending everything together is probably that's a type of ideal client in a type of ideal scenario where we can do our best work.
Okay, so brand intelligence basically advises the clients and then help them grow, right?
It's true.
So from the website, from getting the idea to actually releasing the product.
Absolutely.
And then marketing it.
Absolutely.
Okay, that's inspiring. So, as I already mentioned, I'm the product manager myself for an IT firm, and I've always been intrigued with social media, designing a brand, marketing.
Mhm.
So, I'm sure, like just like me, there are so many other young professionals and entrepreneurs who would like to hear from you how important marketing is for a company. Like, what are the different marketing strategies that anyone can use for growing a company?
So we could probably talk for hours and hours on the importance of marketing, right? But I have really one big answer for you, and that is without marketing, you have nothing, right?
True.
That's, that is possibly the, you know, the most important aspect of marketing. I'd like to go on. I'd like to think about this a little bit, go on to your next question and come back to marketing because it's such a crucial subject. Do you mind?
No, no, sure.
Oh,
So,
good.
then why don't we talk about like what were the challenges that you faced while building your brand, and then how did you overcome them?
Okay. So I think that the challenges for me um, began when I was working with a very, very large advertising agency in New York City, one of the biggest ad agencies. And I fell in love with the internet and really felt that it was the most important thing that will ever happen in this world. And I couldn't convince the then leaders to get involved. And so I went from marketing to technology and got involved in absolutely understanding everything I could understand about web technology. And so from there, I built my very first company, and it was one of the big four running pathfinders, trailblazing companies in New York City. And people turned to us for all the new things that were happening and to discover creativity and innovation, you know, a source of creativity and innovation. Along came 9/11, and my business was located very, very close to the World Trade Center in New York City, Lower Manhattan. And so I was in the building the day of 9/11, and one of my partners was killed in the attack. And so from there, I really felt that I needed to make a very large pivot. So I made two pivots that were really challenging, but terribly important and very exciting. The one pivot was to reduce the size of my company and then create a very small, very elite advisory, you know, just a very nimble, very super intelligent advisory. And so I didn't have all the big overhead. I didn't have all the responsibility for a lot of people. I just wanted it to be extremely small. And I've kept it that way on purpose because it's so satisfying to create without committees, create without mountains of people, right? So 9/11 played a big part in reshaping the advisory itself.
I'm
I
sure like that must have been very hard for you.
Yes, and a
That's
lot of people, a lot of people. But I think then from there, I made another pivot, and that was, you know, when you're in business and when you're an advisor, you have to be way ahead of the curve as much as you can, if you have a passion, of course, for knowledge and you know, self-education. And so I pivoted and went to MIT at the time. MIT was offering a course on Fintech, financial technology. And I wanted to learn everything there was about financial technology. And I thought that would be the one place where finance and technology would be shaping everything. And I had a great capstone project and met Minnie Suri, who is now the CEO of Valmeni. Valmini is, I'm working with them right now on their marketing, and we can talk about Valmini as a case study later if you like, but they are really literally revolutionizing AI and helping dentistry to pivot to a whole new future. But then I think then that second pivot toward fintech brought me to a great capstone, and then meeting other people in fintech. So I did meet up with someone else who wanted to create a fintech organization and network, and I had built many networks in the past, so I was sort of a natural person to brand it and to build out the technology platform. But the pivot was fine. It was a fast growing network. It was super it was scaling enormously fast. But at the time, I was seeing that things were happening in the world that were really concerning me, and capital, just making money for money's sake, and making financial models just to build more assets and more money was just completely boring to me. And so I began to really dislike fintech at the time. I disliked it immensely, and I disliked the focus. And so I cared a lot about, about the situation, all the situations that were converging at the same time in the world. And I thought, if you can do anything, if the challenge is anything, the challenge is to improve the world. And that's what my current focus is. And those are to answer your question, those challenges were big. And I'm really interested in young people who are really worried about the conditions that are converging in this world right now and want to solve them.
First of all, like, you're very brave, I must say. Like, your story is inspirational for me. So Mary, like, as you mentioned, you have several years of rich experience under your belt, right? So according to you, what has changed in the last 10 years in this industry?
What has changed in this industry? Everything. Everything has changed. Everything is moving at such a high rate of speed because technology is moving very fast. The whole entire user experience, the user interfaces, as you know, one thing that I really can't, that I don't like are trends, right? I really think that it's more important to be unique and authentic rather than to jump on trends. And so there's a lot of trends that are happening, and it's very distracting. And I think that people get so enamored and so excited over, like really big trends. And then I think that the issue there is the biggest struggle is being in a world of reality, of understanding everything about you and understanding others, and so many people here in the US are distracted away from reality, right? And so there's so much conflict with people not realizing, the reality of circumstances. And I think that I've probably gone off track here a little bit, but I do think that technologies provide distractions. I think that media provides distractions. I think that people's values are in conflict, and that provides distractions. I do think that there are technologies that are doing phenomenal things right now. And I think that Valmini, of course, is one of them. Luftcar, another. I mean, we could have beautiful use cases of, some of the best minds that are doing the best things in the world right now. But yeah, things have changed really in terms of websites. Um, people don't read anymore. I'm a voracious reader, and it distresses me to see that people don't read, and they just want to go click, 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 got it, got it, got it, I'm out of here. And so the design and user faces have changed because people don't read. They don't want to immerse themselves in a deeper knowledge. They just want to catch the veneer of something and then go on. That's a big change that has happened, and that distresses me to some degree. And it's also part of my habits. I'm a voracious reader, but I'll skim very quickly too. So I'm a person who is talking about conflict, and I'm in the conflict, but I'm also in the solution.
Okay. That's actually very interesting. The industry has changed a lot, especially with these Instagram reels. Like you have to show everything in 30 seconds. So, and the trend is so short-lived. Like it will go on for a week and then there will be a different trend. And if I just want to grow my business, I'll have to keep up with the trends. And sometimes it's a bit difficult.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So, Mary, you are the brand expert and you work with all these different brands every day, help them succeed. But we are living in some different, unique times, right? Like, especially after the COVID hit. So, how has the COVID impacted your business?
How has the what?
COVID, COVID
COVID.
19?
Oh, COVID.
Yeah.
COVID was, I've written a couple articles about COVID and been interviewed about COVID. And it hasn't changed how I do business physically, because I can do business anywhere that I am, as long as I'm safe from COVID, right? And my business is just like very, very flexible. The fact of the matter is, in 2020, when COVID hit, there were no vaccinations, there's no mask mandates, there was no protection whatsoever for anyone, at all. And so, I think that was a very trying and difficult time, because clients were getting COVID and getting sick, and their employees were getting sick, that they were having to cope with, building out remote systems and so on and so forth. So we lost about 80% of our business in 2020. So that was, it was really difficult. And then I think what happened in early 2022, end of 2021, people started to work their way around their issues, and we began to build then our clientele back. The big AI innovators never stopped, and so that began to be sort of the heartbeat of our business, is when we moved into some really, really high tech relationships.
Okay. Thank you for the insight. I'm sure this conversation will help a lot of young professionals and entrepreneurs who want to enter this industry. Is there any special advice that you would like to give to them, especially our women entrepreneurs?
Women, I think I just have interviewed 5 women yesterday from all over research and science. They were researchers and scientists for Sumitomo Chemical Company, one of our long-term clients, a client that we have helped build over many years. And women have special issues, because during COVID especially, they are, there's a parenting issue, and then there's a career issue, right? And so I think that getting their corporations to recognize, that parenting during COVID, and the school issues and the illness issues of families and so on and so forth, very, very, very difficult. And so helping each other, supporting each other as women is really, really, really important. I think advice for young entrepreneurs, overall is to immerse in deep, continuous self-education. And I think at my age compared to your age, I'm obsessed with reading. I read hundreds of books on all sorts of different topics so that I have a lot of knowledge from a lot of different sources. So self-education is really crucial. I think networking for the long term is very, very important. And building a network is like building a knowledge family. It's really, really crucial. The first thing I think is building narratives like you and I are having, building narratives with innovators and mentors. And innovators and mentors can be one and the same, but I do think that building those narratives is really important, having those conversations. I think that for those who are deep into IT, to take courses on public speaking so that they can express their ideas, right? So I think that being able to communicate ideas is paramount today. I also think that I live in a world where everything is very, very complex, and so do you. So I think that simplifying complexity, shaping visions into communication assets is something that is a really important thing to do. And then applying your knowledge to the market, sharing your knowledge, getting your knowledge out there. That's of course, if you intend to be an entrepreneur. So yeah, I mean, there's so much advice. There's a world of advice that is available just absolutely anywhere. But I did build a network called Teenage Entrepreneurs, Teenage Startups, and I have a strong sense that teenagers these days are so sophisticated. Students are so sophisticated, and if they have a passion, if you have a passion, just to follow it and take that journey to as far as you can take it, and help other people along the way.
That's some great advice. Thank you, Mary. So actually, as you mentioned, networking is important. But like many of the business owners are introverts. Like I used to be an introvert myself. So how do you suggest that we network? Because I usually avoid talking to people. So how can introverts like network with people?
Now, how to network with people?
Introverts, yes.
In the work.
Yes.
Well, within a project, you have a particular team, right? And you have your team, your team, a client's team, and so on and so forth. That becomes a natural network, right? And then the thing that you want to do outside of that is to connect with people that you think are very, very, very interesting, and ask them to have a few minutes for a conversation. I think the worst thing that happens on LinkedIn, for instance, is those automatic in-mails where you get these horrific requests to do business together, or you know what I mean. The most exciting people, I think, on LinkedIn, out of however many millions of people are on LinkedIn, are the ones who are really interested in conversation, just having a conversation. And conversations lead to ideas, and ideas lead to introducing other people who are interested in those ideas, and so on and so forth. So I think just asking people for their ideas, or asking people about a topic that you're interested in, and ask them to say a few words, can begin that process of building a network.
Okay. Thank you for the advice, Mary. I'm sure a lot of our viewers will benefit from this. So actually, one last question. You mentioned you love reading, and I usually ask people for book recommendations. So 3 books that you would like you would suggest me to read, or our audience that helps.
I'd love to tell you, I would give you 3 books. I have hundreds of books. I am impassioned over books. I have one here by somebody I dearly love, Ray Wang. I don't know if you know our Ray Wang, but he is one of the co-founders and co-hosts of Disrupt TV. It's an interview series. And this book is called Everybody Wants to Rule the World, right? Surviving and thriving in a world of digital giants. So here I am working with entrepreneurs and small companies, and the whole idea of scaling is really important. So he has some very important messages. I'll shock you with one of the ones that I would suggest, and not to always read about technology and not to always read about business, but there is a book, I don't know if you can read this, or you can't, called The Art of War. It's the complete text and commentaries by Sun Tzu, TZU, and it's translated by a brilliant translator by the name of Thomas Clary. And I thought it would be really interesting for you to know just why would somebody ever be interested in the art of war? Why? You know, so what the thing is about your life and the business that you're going to go into, or wherever you are to decide to establish your career, is that you're always going to see conflict. You are going to see it. I can guarantee it. I can absolutely guarantee it. But so the art of war applies to competition, in conflict in general, on every level, from interpersonal to the international, right? So its aim is invincibility and victory without battle, right? And unassailable strength through understanding the physics, politics, and psychology of conflict. So one thing that you will always see in your life is conflict, and how you shape a circumstance away from conflict to a better resolve. I would say that that particular book is possibly pretty phenomenal. Another book that I read a million billion years ago, and it keeps coming up over and over and over again, it's so crazy, but it just keeps being relevant, is called The Tipping Point. And this is by Malcolm Gladwell. And this is the only book of his. I mean, I've read all of his book, but this is the only book of Malcolm Gladwell's that I love. And it's called How Little Things Can Make a Difference. But the biggest issue here is this is the best marketing advice I've ever had in my entire life. And that is, how do you bring a product or an idea to a point where it explodes and it takes on its own life, and everybody, it has to become part of everybody's life, whether it's corporate life, personal life, or so on and so forth. But the tipping point is actually a point where something completely shifts and becomes then part of a trend, and then becomes part of a life, right? So I would say those three books, I mean, I literally, like I said, have hundreds of books on every subject you can imagine. But I would say those three books would be pretty cool.
Okay, like I know what books I am going to read next. So thank you, Mary. So this was a lot of fun, but this marks the end of our session today. I'm sure our viewers who will watch this interview would be learning a lot. I sure did. So thank you so much, Mary, once again for joining us. It was such an absolute pleasure talking to you.
It was so mutual, Shivani, and I wish you the best success.